闘機はスバコスク
What you just saw there was an edited down portion from the opening scene of Planet, a 2003 anime developed by Sunrise, the studio behind Gintama, Code Geass, and Cowboy Bebop, a resume known in part to almost any anime fan and with some of the highest scores of all time. They are definitively classics of the medium. But then there's Planet by the same crew with a score just as high, but only 1/8 of the reach of those big names in their many, many iterations. So I think it's a quite fitting anime to kick off a new format dedicated to hidden gems, those series you can only find when you reach back pages and pages of search results lost to time in the excess of the digital age. I'll be trying my best to find and showcase them and their potential here, so you can find something new that you may love. With that said, let's get right into it with a quick synopsis. The shocking opening you witnessed lays the premise for the whole series. In the age of space exploration as commonplace, a deadly issue arises. Junk. Mundane, pointless, indescript junk. Space is full of it, from blown-off fuel tanks to leftover space construction equipment. Anything and everything that was so carelessly left behind, it now presents a long, unconsidered issue. And so, in a world of moon colonies and commercial space travel, someone has to manage all of this junk, a task which falls to the lowest rungs of corporations taking over stellar space. When a piece of junk becomes a risk, teams are dispatched to either recover it for raw materials or destroy it, floating it back down to the atmosphere to burn up in a brilliant blaze. One of these teams, the debris section of the Technoaura Corporation, welcomes its first new member in 3 years, Ai Tanabe, an idealistic young woman of 20 seeking the excitement and wonder of space. In the neglected depths of this corporation, known as the Half Division for its underfunded and, well, half-complete nature, she finds something much different. A world where space has been made mundane. Spacewalks, once the absolute amazement of the entire world, are just what needs to be done to get paid. While the entire crew shows this in their lackadaisy nature, Hachiruto Hoshino, the rude, hot-headed astronaut, presents it quite directly, speaking to the fact that the second a company would take an inexperienced, untrained nobody like I, space was no longer something of dedication and wonder. Now it's any other menial job, just the profit and procedure of corporations. Shaken but not fully deterred, I gets through the first motions of the job, a spacesuit fitting, gathering supplies for the walk, and so on, to reach one of those walks like she'd always dreamed, only to find that the junk they'd be discarding was a monument made in the name of peace for a war-torn nation whose orbit was on collision with a military satellite used for exactly the kinds of invasions that destroyed lives there. Objecting hardly to the removal of such a monument, I and Hachiruto conflict in outer space as he says, "Who cares, it's a pointless gesture anyway." They each fling each other away in this conflict only to be saved by their tethers and just in time to see the monument appear overhead. Turns out, it was dedicated by the same company owning the satellite, the same company which began the harsh conflict. It was an empty gesture of peace made for appearances and excess, presenting Ai's argument that gestures of peace were important as quite naive and foolish. She relents and says, yes, it should be destroyed. Hachiruto of course obliges, but not before a seemingly pointless wait while the Earth silently rotates below. When it is rocketed back down to burn up in the atmosphere, it passes right over the war-torn nation it falsely represented peace in, to the wonder and amazement of all the children watching below. The false, excessive gesture was turned into a genuine moment of kindness, showing Ai that everything she was looking for in space might be a bit more obscure, but isn't gone, and then it shares that feeling with a whole new generation. I want to begin with the same thread we ended the recap on because it's what was most impressive about Planet to me from this impression. In just one episode, it began to lay some super impressive thematic groundwork and showed that it could follow through on the Cowboy Bebop episodic formula it seems like it will follow, with each episode presenting a new look into this world and its intricacies, as well as what we can learn from them. I think what we'll gather from the overarching narrative as the series progresses is about the mundane. What is it? How does it come about? And then how do we manage it? After all, this is a new and amazing world to us. I mean, who between us right here, right now, could imagine going for a spacewalk as a 20-year-old off the street? The moon is a thing of our dreams, the poetry of sleepless nights and clumsy verse metaphors. But here, well, it's just another day. They're not going into space to research or inspire or discover. There's nothing new about it. But it's just so that a company can keep making money off of space tours and so that militaries can keep monitoring and destroying smaller nations. We turned the wonders of our current world, the stuff of imagination, into profit and cruelty like so many good things before, like a mirror to the very artistic pursuits which create animation used for profit in our world. Maybe space and those pursuits were never amazing. Maybe it was just our imagination looking to something far away and placing grand expectations on it. This has clearly developed an eye as the job is nothing like she imagined. The first time she meets an astronaut is this, the recurring joke of the anime about them having to wear diapers. Their home base isn't a cool NASA-like control room, but a leftover hangar bay with bare bones equipment and barking dogs. Their ship is outdated, a veritable bucket of bolts they trust their lives to somehow. And most of the day isn't spacewalks, it's training and preparation as we see them have to go around and gather the materials for the trips before they can take them, along with extended scenes of the communication and coordination necessary for each task. It's an old battle taken into a future age. Expectations against reality. What we'll look past and ignore for our dreams, and how it hits us so clearly in the face when we're made to confront it. This is why I ask if space was ever so amazing. Maybe it was just that we knew so little of how it worked, and we could see it untrue and in mystery, in the recesses of imagination where hopes and dreams lie. But like the first junk she helps clear, the truth is often much more complex and harsh. This is a great framework for the series to explore the human condition. How do we find value in a world constantly made valueless? This is the overwhelming majority of the episode, the frustration with individual powerlessness, the stress of beginning a new job, and everything about the salaryman lifestyle of our modern day. But then, brilliantly at the end, we get one quick, bright, amazing flash of light with that false idol's final moments. A small span of its lifetime, just like the episode's ratio, is turned into something truly good by people who are just doing their jobs. Here, within the confines of strict orders and endless procedure, they did what they could to make the meaninglessness meaningful once more. This relates right back to the opening of the episode, the premise itself. They're here because of a small screw, something so tiny, so minuscule, we would never even think about how much damage it could cause. Think of any work you did with nuts or bolts or screws. You drop one and oh well, move on. There's a whole other box. Who cares? It's just one screw. It won't do anything. But cause and effect ripple. They meet and grow and have endless potential. Any action we take has a chance to shift the world around us, however little, like that screw someone's mistake so long ago did. And that's all such a great sign. That's Cowboy Bebop levels of analysis in a single episode, and I'm fairly sure those are themes the series must have carried forward because they're built into the very premise of it. The anime is described as an unconventional take on sci-fi, using the backdrop of space to explore the lives of ordinary people. That relatability it has to develop such strong thematic groundwork in an easily understandable way is the series itself. We've all felt some of those same feelings, and as I was watching, I said too real too real amount of times. With that said though, I do worry that maybe it'll be too eager to explore these topics. For how much I love this first episode, I think there was a bit too much thematically brewing. We dive right into a mixture of mundanity caused by crushing capitalism, showing a healthy amount of harsh realism with a dose of slightly hopeful optimism, largely empty gestures contrasted against small meaningful ones that highlight the small ways individuals maintain themselves and the dangers of worldwide gratification. Yeah, that's all just from one episode. Sometimes there is too much of a good thing. Those are all brought together because they are a truthfully complex web. But a story is powerful because it has the time and structure to untangle that web, present it clearly, and then show how it tangles once more. I'd rather it took things more slowly. I mean, a character's whole mindset flipping over and then back again in one episode has implications for the pacing. I do think we can see this concern of overdoing things in some of the other good elements though, like the sound design and strong visuals. Mostly they're fantastic. I mean, the opening scene is nearly silent except for the background noise of a ship in space. However unrealistic that might be, it feels so cold, so distant and amazing, which is the exact perfect feeling to instantly draw you in, to give us that exact feeling I had of wow, the wonder of space, just to take it away. And it does that by slowly building into a haunting stinger as the screw rushes forward to perform its disaster. I was hooked immediately at how it showed this feel and then broke it in half, how it created simplicity and shocked it. And this happens again later on the spacewalk. There's no music, just the ambience created by their suits and the propulsion of them, which serves to not just put us in their place, but to highlight the effort they take to move around. Each little movement is presented with a sound breaking the silence, meaning we notice them all even with the argument playing out. It showcases the effort a veteran takes on these missions, just as the rookie is thrown into the fire in the same way, making her panic feel that much more real and relatable. And when it gets loud, it does so to good effect. The early 2000s, a lot of brass, jazzy, rhythmic rock kicks in on heavy drum beats, synced to flashing images right as the eye is hit with an overwhelming sensation, presenting that feeling to us in a brilliant fashion with tons of feel from its era. But, in that super powerful intro and a few other places, it goes overboard. Instead of a slight glass cracking and a cut to black, we get a super overt crashing sound replayed with very aggressive visuals and effects, like they did exactly what was needed and trusted us to get it, but then went further to make sure we really got the point. And this feels the same with some of their dialogue. While it has many points of showing not telling, like the spacewalk effort we just went over, it also really seems to like a formulaic conversation pattern of present take A, present take B, and then show the middle ground for effect, which usually plays out between I, Hachiruta, and Fi respectively. The conversations are still natural and come about in turn with the plot, but they have her say things quite directly like, it's just propaganda about the symbol of peace, when a look of her embarrassed disappointment followed by a sheepish nature would have sufficed, and we could draw that conclusion for ourselves, meaning it's stronger in our mental pathways. With genuine themes to back it up, this won't be annoying. It's not like it's telling you without showing, it's just doing both at once. I'm probably well over my time of 10 minutes at this point, so final thoughts. The animation looks fantastic for being 20 years old, save the dated CG, very reminiscent of the fluidity and shot composition that makes Bebop look so fantastic in the same way. The imagery is stunning and fitting. There's a small object in front of the big Earth causing massive destruction, mirroring how we're all small objects trying to have big effects. There's the colder colors of the technically glamorous good jobs compared to the warmer tones of the half division, like Flea foreshadowing a genuine connection to be built, the thumbs down on her face striking and harsh like this first day, and so much more. What we see backs up what we're supposed to feel. The mechanical designs are strong. You get a lot of detail there and get to see things, little bits of tech in action, like again sometimes Bebop does, fitting because it's from Sunrise as well, and dedicated scenes of the work behind space travel, the communication, and everything needed to get things in and out of space, so it's probably good for anyone in those two camps, either mechanical people or space people. Character designs and characters themselves don't seem to be anything too specific, but for ordinary lives that's probably the point, and there it's a bit more formulaic but likable. The surroundings will probably provide the originality when it comes to these characters. It of course has some pretty ridiculous moments of comedy because anime, the diaper joke is going to get overused to hell and back, but it's nothing that broke the series for me, although if they kept that confined to the characters who work as caricatures, those representing the lack of care in these corporations, i.e. flat characters whose point is to be flat, it would work best there. But it did have some quick jokes that got me, like when the assistant manager leans away to say the assistant part of his title, and then back in to say the rest. Overall, I think the best sign for this anime is that one episode left me with a lot of potential themes I'd keep in mind while watching. Anything that can do that from the start, so then we're building mental pathways along the way, not trying to figure it out, with the knowledge to adapt a proven relatable formula in an interesting and meaningful way, has a lot of potential. Overall, I think Planet really could be a hidden gem. Let me know if you've seen it or plan to and how right or wrong I was. And of course, thanks for watching, and I hope that I'll see you again soon.